Hi, welcome to the Anime Social Club. We hope you enjoy your stay.
That was pretty fun.
Your friend will catch cold sleeping like that.
I'm home, everyone!
Just a humble bounty hunter, man.
All right, cool. Got the recording going? Okay. Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Anime Social Club once again. Join with me this week is the full cast. I don't have to solo. It's not just me and Kuro. Etyo is finally back from the plains of Azeroth. And
literally.
Wait a second.
he took a sabbatical to explore other realms, and yeah, he finally came back to us. So I'm super excited for that. But regardless, I'm super stoked for this week's podcast. As you can tell, I'm hyped the fuck up. And we're gonna jump into some juicy topics. But before we get into that, Kuro, how the fuck are you?
I am living. I'm feeling pretty good. I had some ice cream before we started.
Ooh, that's lit.
Yeah.
What about you, Etyo? How have you been over these past 2 weeks? You've been AFK, bro.
I've been good, thank you. I've been actually quite busy. I have not been on Azeroth the whole time, by the way. I've been actually working and university and doing normie things like a normal person. Don't you worry.
Sure, buddy. Sure. Likely story. That's what they all say.
Yeah, subside. I am a normie.
He is quite the normie. I won't lie about that. But aside from all that, I just wanted to remind you guys, if you are watching this podcast on YouTube, you can catch us live every Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And if you're listening to the audio version, you can watch us live or on YouTube. Just search up Anime Social Club. You guys can see the chat on stream if you're watching the video, or if you're joining us live as it happens. You can participate in the chat, and we read off you guys' comments as we discuss and do things. And be sure to give us a rating, thumbs up, a like, comment, the subscribe, whatever the literally tens of billions of things you can do nowadays.
You can also press the bell to get notification.
Press the bell to get a notification. My notification is probably the best notification on Twitch. It says "Tap me, senpai." Okay, I mean, come on, who doesn't want to be notified about that? All right.
And if you're in the Discord, make sure you do, what is it, Discord?
Discord. All of the Discord commands, or sorry, chat commands are located in the bottom panels, which you guys can check out down below, which came up pretty badass. They were made by yours truly. I really like them. But apart from that, I'm just so glad to be back here once again. Got a lot of really cool stuff going on in the Discord. Just having fun hanging out, so join that as well. Anyways, let's go ahead and jump right into the podcast. So for today, as you guys can tell by the title, exploring Shounen, right? And we are not just gonna talk about one specific show or just one type, I guess, per se, or maybe we are. Who the fuck knows? I don't know what they have in store, or kind of, but we're gonna delve more into a little bit more of the genre or type, kind of like what we did with Isekai, and we plan to do these weave them in to our year in review, our seasonal update, just another thing we can do. So we're gonna touch on horror and fighting and whatever. There's infinite topics we can go over. So but let's go ahead and jump in today's main thing that we're going to talk about. What makes a good shonen? So that is the first question I'm going to pose to both of you guys. So the way we'll do it is that we'll give our 2 cents in, and then we'll discuss why you're both wrong and why I'm right. And yeah, let's go with Kuro. What makes a good shonen? What makes shonen worth watching? Okay.
Yes. So I made a list of what I think makes a good shonen. Now, obviously, a lot of these things just make a good show, but I don't know. I think they're like pretty crucial to shonen as well. So obviously, the first thing is a good protagonist, because if your protagonist is a lot of times in shonen, some can be annoying or not very interesting, and I feel like that does really ruin the show. The protagonist doesn't have to be your favorite character, but I just think they need to be a good protagonist, obviously. I think typically, since shonen have bigger casts, it needs a very good supporting cast, because it's also not enjoyable if your protagonist is good and everyone else sucks. And I did add a little asterisk here, at least for me personally. I do like when shonen have a good female cast as well, because at least a lot of the older ones, I believe anyway, did not have as many good female characters. So I tend to enjoy that a bit more. So obviously this is a general thing, but it tends to be an issue in shonen, which is a well-rounded story, minimal plot holes. Shonen, because of the type of genre that it is, typically, you have to have some sort of suspense of disbelief when you watch one. Even with that, I think it still needs to generally, have a well-rounded plot and keep itself together, because it's also not that enjoyable if things just get out of hand. Good villains, I think. I mean, I wrote this assuming we're talking about battle shonen, and so, or action-oriented series, and so obviously interesting villains is a really important key, because the arcs aren't interesting if the villains aren't interesting, typically. This is one of the things I find most important, which is a unique or interesting setting. Because typically, again, like I said, most shonen, you expend disbelief. It's supposed to be not fantasy, but it's fairy tale-ish setting, so you want it to be interesting. A unique or cool power system if it's action oriented. If the powers are boring, then it's not going to be that cool. And one of the most important things for me is that it's fun, that you have fun watching it. Of course, some shonen are serious, and that's fine, but generally speaking, I like to have fun watching my shonen. So that's my list.
Did we lose Benji?
I think we lost Benji.
We
Never
can't
mind.
hear you,
My mic was muted. Haha, that was a test.
I was like, is it just me? I thought it was my internet.
So, Yo, what are your ideas and thoughts on the things she was talking about? Continue.
Okay, I will continue, and people can yeah. Anyway, hey Franchi. Okay, a good shonen is not shonen. That's what I want to say first of all. I have a lot of people telling me, "Oh no, Hunter x Hunter is the best shonen out there," and
Oh, no.
I completely disagree that it's even a shonen in the first place. I think it's more a shonen than anything else, and same with Full Metal Alchemist as well. It's on the basis of just looking at how it's structured in a drama context. I think
But
it's
in a
too.
shonen jump.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Doesn't
I mean,
matter
that's
if it's
what the
a
main definition for shonen
No.
actually ends up being, is that it's
Shonen means teenage boy.
Yeah, it's
That's
supposed
what
to
it
appeal to
means.
teenage boys or have a teenage boy protagonist, in which
No, that's literally the translation. When you translate shonen, it translates as boy, young boy.
Yeah.
And that's what the aim is. The aim is for young boys. And therefore, Death Note is also not shonen either. I don't think Death Note is shonen, Ikari. I don't think so. Because it's too mature of a topic to explore. That's just my opinion.
Well,
I
I'll be
think
able to argue that those series are shonen.
We'll get into that in a sec.
Yes. So my ideal shonen is one that appeals to a teenage boy, and that may mean that its story structure is a little bit all over the place. It's not necessarily very good. It's got good action. It may have a hint of romance, but hardly. Mostly action in my mind when I think of shonen. It's an action story. And I mean, there may be deaths in it, but the seriousness of it is not that intense. When I think of the best shonen, I think of One Piece. Out of
Kuro, shush.
just by that definition, I would say One Piece is definitely the best shonen.
Okay. Well, all right. So I agree with most of your points, but I would say two things. One that I was already going to point out off of the list that didn't get mentioned, but also one thing that I saw in the chat as well, which I mean, I don't think it's necessary, like it has to be in there to make it a good shonen, but I feel like it should be. Because I think it's one of the more compelling things about shonen, which is a tournament arc. I fucking love tournament arcs. Tournament arcs are fucking fantastic. They are such a staple in just shonen in general. Like it's one thing that I just can't get enough of, like lasagna or cheesecake, right? I could have that shit every day for the rest of my life and I'd be happy, right? So with tournament arcs, if you give me a tournament arc every season, I'm gonna enjoy it because it's great. It's fantastic. But apart from tournament arcs, which shout out to Subside, thank you in the chat for that suggestion. Hype. There has to be hype. Hype has to come in some way, shape, or form because I need to be hyped. I need something to draw and pull me the fuck in and want to come every single week to see the protagonist prevail every single time. I want to see him do it in a badass way, and I want it to inspire the fuck out of me, right? I want to be able to watch the show before I go to the gym, and that's pretty much my pre-workout. And I'm just like, ah, you know what I mean? I want to feel like I can save the world after I watch an episode. You know what I mean? I mean, not necessarily every episode, but the ones that are supposed to have the most impact. Like, it has to have that. Oh, and then lastly, the third thing that I just thought off the top of my head is the fight scenes. There needs to be actual fighting in the show. Like, an interaction of abilities that are displayed with the context of everything that the characters have done beforehand, right? So, for example, like with Bleach, when he learns to use his Getsuga Tensho, right, and he learns all these different abilities, and then the abilities manifest within the fight themselves, right? And then, you know, you get to see the utilization of all the training and everything that they've done comes to fruition within these fights. And the quality of the fights are a big staple point within a lot of these shonen that we watch because we get to see them operate like at their best, you know. It's the same reason why we like to watch a lot of people in the professional realm do their thing because they are the best of what they do and they have a lot of time and effort that went into perfecting that thing. So when we watch a shonen, right, we get to see that whole process because we see the hero's journey, you know, or whatever context the shonen is in. And then we see them display their powers within those fights or tournament arcs more specifically. So I think it has to have a great fight scene to really be a good shonen at least.
Do you think also a training arc is pretty important from what it sounds like? Put a lot of emphasis on it.
I was just gonna say, Ikari said in chat, tournament arcs plus training arc plus time skip equals the Holy Trinity, and I agree. I was also gonna throw in training arc because I think if you're gonna do the tournament arc, you gotta throw in the other two classics, and then it's great.
The training arc, depending on how you establish it within the context of the show, can either hurt or help shonen. Because sometimes you're better off just condensing the training arc into one or two episodes, right?
Some are really boring and some do it really, really great. Like I just thought of Hunter x Hunter's training arc, which was technically Heaven's Arena. Like that was pretty. That was a really good way to incorporate the training arc. But then at the same time, Kimetsu no Yaiba's was only an episode or two, but like I was kind of bored.
Well,
and it was longer.
I like the training arc in Kimetsu no Yaiba. So
I didn't dislike it, but it definitely wasn't like my favorite.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't my favorite, but I think it did its job, right? It gave us it did
the bare minimum.
The context, for what we saw elsewhere. Although I did find it a bit odd that they just showed us these things and then these things just kind of don't really matter later on in the story, but that's beside the point.
That's why.
Okay. But I mean, overall, I really like that they did that. I think Dragon Ball Z has some of the best training arcs
I would, yeah,
Ever.
I would give you that.
Fantastic. I loved watching those training arcs and seeing them get,
I really
better and better.
enjoyed Naruto's one.
Naruto's is great, yeah.
Yeah, Naruto's
and,
one is great because it's all about the characters as well, I think.
Yeah.
and then there's shows that show you the training arc, but then I also like when there are shows that because I think it's important to have them do training, but you don't always have to show it. And so like One Piece, for example, has never really shown a lot of training, but it's been applied or showed in specific ways, and I think that that's really helpful too. Although actually, right now they're like doing the low key training arc.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Well, I mean,
oh, go for it. Hey, yeah.
With Zoro, I think he does a lot of training, like
That's
throughout
true,
the
yeah.
whole
Yeah,
entire
see,
series.
like, yeah, One Piece shows you them like in their downtime, they're training. That's when they're doing it. So it's like it's just like organically put in.
Yeah, which is realistic. That makes a lot of sense, especially for an adventure shonen. It makes a lot.
Yeah. And then a good example of not showing the training would be Sasuke versus Gaara within the second round of the Chunin exams.
Yes.
We see none of Sasuke's training. We only see the fruition of it, right?
But that gets you hype. You're like,
it gets you hype, but it works because we have seen him train before, just not for that particular thing, right?
Yeah.
We get a little bit of that context into his ability, right? And once we understand the ability, right, the explanation for how he got the ability isn't necessarily required, because we kind of get it amidst the fight, but we don't need an entire arc dedicated to it to explain like how we came to that point. But I feel like a lot of the times when you do a training arc, yeah, like you said, it can be really boring. Because you're just like, oh, he's learning this, one ability. Like,
they have to make it interesting, basically.
Yeah. One recent show that I think did a boring training arc, and not necessarily that it was bad, but Radiant was a show that premiered last year, I believe. It's a shonen show through and through. Basically, it's about a kid who has abnormal magical powers, and then he sets off on a journey to defeat the source of evil in his world. I'm pretty much describing like 30 different shows, but
that's amazing.
Yeah, in the show he has like a mini training arc of him trying to learn these certain abilities, but it's portrayed really boring because the situations that they put him in order for him to develop his abilities make it feel like a filler, and it doesn't really add much to it because the result is just this something that's mediocre, right? And you don't really get to see like a whole incredible result of it because the way that he's able to live up to his full potential isn't because of the training. It's another external factor that lends itself to it. But
the other important thing is that, which I guess is another thing that I guess I'd like to see in shonen, is that I do think there needs to be some form of training showed to you, because then you get shows like Seven Deadly Sins when there's no explanation about the powers and they just get power-ups and you have no idea how, and you never saw them train. I don't even think they did.
Fucking speaking of which, when you have those bullshit out the ass where they're like, oh, this is my new ability, and they're like, oh, I have this ability. Oh no, but this is my other ability. You know what I mean?
Well, that's not completely true about Seven Deadly Sins, though.
It's not completely true. I was just using that as an example of where you don't really see any training, and like the point of Seven Deadly Sins, which we'll get to because that's on the list I made at least, isn't necessarily to be realistic, but I don't know. That was one of the things that bothered me about the series, and it's not just Seven Deadly Sins. I just don't like in general when I don't at least have some sort of comprehensive understanding of how their powers work or how they got so strong. Well, okay, Ikari so what shonen is realistic. I guess it's not that realistic, but realistic to being a shonen, so like within its universe,
Yeah,
which
I actually want to touch on real quick is so you wrote down a well-rounded story, minimal plot holes, right?
Yes.
I don't necessarily agree with that. I think you can have plot holes, and I think it'd be okay as long.
Yeah, that's what I said, minimal, because I don't want it to be like, like there are certain shonen that I love, and like they're not perfect, but I'll say they're some of the best ones and my favorite. But it just depends on how big the plot hole is, or like how much it doesn't make sense.
Bleach, 0 plot holes. Okay. Get at me.
But yeah, I just said
dude,
that
he
because
planned the whole thing. He planned the whole thing, dude.
Plan
Don't
the whole
worry.
thing, dude. 2019.
yeah, basically stuff like that. Like I just don't want it to be like to the point where it ruins the show, you know? Like because when nothing makes sense, you know? I'm not saying it has to be perfectly written because most shonen are not. But the fact that there are shonen that are able to be with minimal plot holes, like it shows me that it's doable. Yeah, Ikari said I still don't get how Oda does it, to be honest. Yeah, One Piece has no plot holes. Granted, it's not over yet, so, you know, there might be stuff he might not cover, but I assume that's not going to be the case because he highlights pretty much everything that he hasn't covered yet, so.
Yeah. I would say Dragon Ball is a good example around this story. If you watch the original Dragon Ball, because you didn't have like the extreme power-ups, like everything was really well balanced within this world. You didn't have a lot of craziness. And I would say even up to like the Frieza arc, like a lot of the progression of power made a lot of sense, right? The story was originally only written up until the Frieza saga. Then it kind of
it's after that is when
it's when it gets a little crazy, you know. but again, it lends to the charm of the show.
Yeah, I love that. I love the Cell arc. The Cell arc was one of the best, dude. I love that.
Yeah, Cell arc was pretty good. I actually liked it a lot. But I mean, Kid Buu, best villain. I don't care. I already know what you're gonna say. I already know what you're gonna say about Kid Buu, but
to me, I explain that fun to me is like almost the most important thing. Like, you know, I do my ratings like a bit different. So like there are some shows that like I don't have rated well because I don't think they're very good. But like I'm not gonna lie to you and say it wasn't fun to watch. And that's the case with a lot of shonen. Like they are still pretty fun to watch. It's just they might not necessarily be something that's considered good.
yeah. Which you know is a good transition into the next question. Right, which is, has shonen gotten better or worse over the years? And let's go to Etyo for that one. He'll start us off with that.
What's some good examples of some new shonen?
Fire Force,
Black Clover,
Doctor Stone,
The Promised Neverland, Kimetsu no Yaiba.
Yeah.
If you want to go back a little bit more, that's like the newest. I would say a little bit before that's probably, I mean, Haikyuu,
Mob Psycho,
One Punch Man, Attack on Titan because it's still going on. So
Boku no Hero Academia,
My Hero Academia. I
well-
forgot about that one.
Well, just listening to those that you guys listed, like, let's just take those and just say, okay, which ones of them are selling and how much money are they making?
They're all selling.
I mean,
they're all selling.
On that sense, they're all pretty good. I would say in regards to what I described as an ideal or good shonen, I would say My Hero Academia hits that on the mark. I would say One Punch Man hits that on the mark. I would say I wouldn't say Attack on Titan does though. That's a shonen. That's a shonen.
Yeah, well, it's not really. I just threw it in there, but yeah, I don't really consider it shonen anything.
Yeah, I didn't put it on my list. Shonen for sure. Mob Psycho, probably a shonen. I will give it to it because it has that aspect of the seriousness of Mob Psycho is a little bit different to stuff like Hunter x Hunter. It's not. Yeah, it's a little bit different, and same with Fullmetal Alchemist. So yes, I think it's good. I think shonen is still fine. It's the same as it always has been. I think the only thing that's different is that it's more seasonal based rather than long running, and I think that's fine. Doesn't make it worse.
Yeah. Well, Kuro, do you have any thoughts on that as well?
Yeah, I do want to say before I do the rest of my answer that one of the things I do like is that it's more seasonal now because I at least think in terms of anime, I think that helps adapt the manga a lot better. Because if you compare, so like all of our old shonen that used to premiere every day for years and years and years, their quality would rise and drop in terms of production. And we see that now because Studio Pierrot still does that with Black Clover. And it's the same thing that's happened with Black Clover in comparison to pretty much all other shonen that are out nowadays, where because it's seasonal, the studios have more time to actually work on the season and make sure the production is pretty high quality. So they all look and sound good, just depending on what you think of their source material. Black Clover is the newest version of the ones that aren't seasonal. I would say. But yeah, but to answer the rest of the question, my answer was that I wouldn't say that it's gotten worse, but I wouldn't say that it's gotten necessarily better either. Pretty much, like you said, it's kind of the same. I don't think it's necessarily the same, but there is a lot of newer shonen that I enjoy like a lot. It's not like I don't like them, but I just don't think that they're necessarily doing anything new. So I feel like at least a majority of them just feel kind of mediocre to me. I just think the genre is kind of stagnant, because there's a few series that try to do something new, but they're failing in other aspects that I find important to a shonen, that it makes it not as good. And then there are series that are doing everything really well, but they're not really doing anything new. So they're just really enjoyable, but I wouldn't say they're like the best of the best, Now, I didn't think of Mob Psycho, actually, because I always forget that Mob is technically shonen. So I would say that's probably like the best one for me personally that's come out in the recent years. But yeah, I don't know. I just find it to be relatively stagnant since I consume like most of the modern shonen, and I can't say that I like any of them more than the older ones. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's hard to do bad shonen nowadays.
Yeah,
you have such a
there's none that are bad.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to make a bad shonen in general, because shonen has the ability to just be bad and still be good.
And it's still fun. That's what I was saying earlier. Yeah,
exactly. Look at Sword Art Online. Exactly. Perfect example. Like I love that show. It's so bad, but it's so fun and it's so good.
Yeah.
I think Seven Deadly Sins is an example of that for me. I really don't think it's good, but I consume it. I consume it like it is candy that is in front of me, and I will continue to until it is finished, which it's almost done.
Yeah. So what that really leaves us with is like, what are the elements that are like that you are able to improve, right? To be able to make yourself stand out like amongst the rest, right? So that would really include I think writing is a good indicator of that. Because as much as I like Kimetsu no Yaiba, I still always say like I think the writing's kind of dumb. Like a lot of stuff is like really spoon fed to you, which isn't necessarily bad, but it's like when it's propped up against the other thing I'm going to mention, which is the animation. It's like you kind of wish for something that's a little bit more in depth, which I mean you can't really always expect out of a shonen, but it's nice to see because it like I said, it makes it stand out even more. Like I said, the other element being animation is like when you have a badly animated shonen, there's no real excuse for that, because then you're just pretty much just not trying at that point, and you're gonna lose to all the other studios that are producing shonen, and they can just make it look incredible. So like we've definitely seen it with Kimetsu no Yaiba, which has some of the best animation, Mob Psycho, which has some of the best animation. For whatever Attack on Titan may be, Attack on Titan still has some stellar fight scenes as well.
Great.
Black Clover, they know their target audience. They know what they're doing. They animate the fights extremely well.
And that's it.
Yeah.
So bad.
Yeah, pretty much. But for the most part, like as time goes on and as we progress, like the elevation of shonen is a little bit more and more apparent. We're not getting a lot of throwaway things too often. Most shonen that we'll watch on a seasonal basis will have some strength in one area or another. For as much as I shit on Radiant earlier, it had really good animation. Honestly, it had one of the better looking shows of that year. So that just goes to show, even something that is as mediocre as that, they still invest somewhat into an element that would make it stand out. So I think the next step, right, would be, well, to say shonen has gotten better or worse. I think it's continually gotten better, but I think it'll, like, we probably won't get another show that will just say, oh, this is like absolutely god tier.
I agree.
Until someone elevates the genre, with really intricate, interesting writing that has depth, while also maintaining the hype and the animation quality that we've come to expect of shonen in recent past seasons.
I want to add on something that I just thought about. while you were talking. When I think about shonen, I think simplicity. It's very simple, and I think what the biggest problem that I'm seeing in shonen nowadays is it's trying to be too unique. It's not keeping to its simplicity. For example, let's have a guy realize that he needs to kill a boss in a tower and then go up the tower, kill every level's boss, and then get to the top, and then eventually kill the last boss. That's the story. Simplified. That's what made the beginning of Sword Art Online good. That's what made Needless good. That's what made Get Packers good. That's all of those shows were good because it was simple in regards to its flow. Its story may not have been very fantastic, but it's still consistent even though it's simple. I think simplicity is a key. Same with One Punch Man as well. Super simple. And it worked.
I agree partially with that. I'm not sure for me at least that simplicity is necessarily the issue, but where you said how, you know, it had a layout, I think a lot of the issue with newer shonen is that I don't think most of them have a layout. So like if you look at like some of the older shonen, right? One Piece, goal from the beginning, become the Pirate King. Naruto, go from the beginning, become Hokage. Like, you know, all the stuff in between, yes, that happens, but like they started these shows with a goal. Like, and like One Piece and Naruto, you know, okay, they're set up to train and become this and that. And like they never, I mean, Naruto loses its way a little bit, but like, you know, One Piece never loses that way. I feel that some of these older ones, that's why I will comment on that, Ikari. But that's why, like, for example, something like My Hero Academia to me, like, yes, the story is about him becoming the #1 hero, but like, that's not like a goal because you already know that it happens. And I mean, granted, you know the other two are going to happen, but I don't know. I just feel like when I'm watching My Hero Academia, like half the time, I don't really know where it's going. Like, I don't understand what the next arc is going to be. I don't really understand the point. And the same thing with Seven Deadly Sins. There's like no goal to Seven Deadly Sins mostly. But Black Clover, which is what Yukari just brought up, Black Clover sort of brought that traditional thing back with, okay, become the Witch King. Yes, it sounds like One Piece, whatever.
Wizard.
Wizard King, yes.
Don't
King.
let Akari troll you, okay? Wizard King.
One of the two. But, you know, at least then, like, that's why I enjoy it a bit more because it's a simple premise and everything that happens in between is just, it's good and it builds it up to that thing. I just think that a lot of new shonen, as you said, are trying to be too unique in, like, their individual, like, arcs where, like, they don't really have this overarching, like, ending, you know? Well, they don't put as much emphasis on the overarching, like story. They lose it.
Well, that's not the important part, though. You just complained about the middle section. You complained about the arc section.
I mean, yes, I do care. Like that's just like one element, you know. Obviously, the middle section has to be written well, too. But to me, I just notice, at least generally, the shonen I tend to enjoy more had an end goal set from the beginning, and like I have an idea of where the show is going.
That's the arcs. The direction that the show is going, that's the arc. That's not the end goal. The end goal is kind of like more like a vague thing. Like let me show you in One Piece. Like every time they get to a new place, what are they gonna do? They're either gonna get a new friend, or they're gonna rescue a friend, or they're gonna kill a big guy.
Yeah, right? And that's all. But that's all leading them towards being private.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, but that's not really relevant. The being Pirate King is not really relevant all the time. It's like
he says it like every episode.
It's a subtle reference that he makes, but it's not really tangible yet.
I mean, now it is.
Now it is, but in regards to when you just start the show, like even with Naruto as well, it's the same. He also said it every episode, but it was like an untangible, distant idea that he's pursuing, whereas each arc was like the puzzle to get there.
So I guess maybe then, if I think about it like that, I think maybe my issue is then that some of these shonen have premises that feel like they're set up to be really long, like as long as, you know, some of the older ones are, and they don't end up being that long.
Yeah.
Or like they get to a certain length, so like, you know, My Hero Academia is like 200 chapters right now, or blah blah blah, and it just doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like it. I don't know. It just doesn't feel right. You know, like One Piece at 200 chapters. Like I'm like, okay, they're at a sensible part in the story, but like some of these newer ones, like they just don't last as long, I think.
Yeah.
But their stories are set up to last that long. I think that's the issue. I mean, Food Wars is not an action shonen, but that's a good example for me because it was set up from the beginning to be super long, at least from what I felt like, and it ended, and it was so unsatisfying. So it did not feel like it was supposed to end at all. They just jumped too quickly.
I see your point, and I think that's exactly why I like stuff like Needless and Gatebacker, because they show you the goal, and then they get to the goal, and then it's done. Then it's the end of the show.
Yeah.
There's no.
But it feels like it naturally got there.
Yeah, and it's done, right? It's not. Yeah. It's not saying that there's gonna be more. It's like it doesn't suggest that there's gonna be more. It's just done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's why Dragon Ball Z is one of the greatest of all time, because it sets its goals, it accomplishes it, and then it exceeds it in every preceding arc. Defeat Frieza,
you know what you're
Frieza defeated,
from Dragon
Cell
Ball.
defeated,
That's right.
and then Boo defeated. That's like,
right.
It does what it promises, and it executes it beautifully.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
that's right.
That's exactly what you expect it to do.
He doesn't say, "I want to be the greatest."
That's what a battle shonen is. That's what a battle shonen is. That's exactly right.
Except GT, right? GT does not exist. Which is funny because if you look at GT, they actually follow that formula. Gotta get all the 7 Dragon Balls in the universe and then bring it all together to save this one thing. You know, they completely derail so that it loses the spirit of what the original Dragon Ball Z was. Granted, Super kind of does that too, but is that the time to talk about that?
We ain't talking about Super.
So, regardless,
yes.
So, I think it's better overall though, for the most part, and I think we're gonna get something incredible. Well, hopefully we get another like astounding classic pretty soon. I think we're due for one. Yeah. Which, again, sick transitions. Good shonen. Some things to recommend to people. Since we talked about it and we're describing it this whole time, let's go ahead and name some ones off the top of our head or this list that's right in front of me. So I'm gonna
should we start from the bottom up or what should we do?
Yeah, let's start from the bottom up. I like that. I appreciate that.
Okay.
So meh shonen, in your opinion. I see some things on this list that
there were a few that I considered moving out of meh. I'm gonna put an asterisk next to one right now. I kind of want to move that one out.
Yeah.
But
so
the rest I would keep.
So we'll name one and then we'll say why it's meh. How about that? You guys good with that? You?
Yes.
Yeah. Or why I disagree completely.
Or why you disagree.
Oh, why you disagree. Oh, yeah. So we'll say it and we'll see if you guys disagree or agree. So in terms of a meh show, I mean, obviously I'm gonna say Radiant, but you guys obviously haven't seen Radiant. Sword Art Online is a meh shonen.
I mean, it's not saying it's not enjoyable. It's just meh.
Yeah.
No. Wait. Did we miss the part where I said that what makes a good shonen is exactly Sword Art Online?
I didn't miss it. I heard you, right? And I ignored you, so then I could bring this up later. It's meh. I mean, like, if the first half of your first season is the only thing that's really redeeming about your show, I mean,
What do you mean? Sword Art Online 2 was pretty. Yeah, it was pretty good.
The first half of the second season too.
It was all right.
Just the second halves are not good.
Like, there's nothing really like. The only thing Sword Art Online is known for is the fact that it was the first isekai.
It's like, not even the first isekai.
But the first
name. Okay, name.
It's not even an isekai.
Hold on. Okay, it's the thing. It's the thing that sparked the isekai genre or whatever, right? It's the craze.
The video game.
What are Kirito's 2 sword names, or what's like a special attack Kirito does? What's some memorable ability?
Beat the villains.
Dual wield it.
Shit, he does dual wield.
Okay.
He pretty much hacks the game. and wins.
So now let's look at any other shonen. Bleach, Getsuga Tensho, Dragon Ball Z, Kamehameha, Naruto, Rasengan, Chidori.
Any other good shonen? 'Cause
Like,
some of the
even
not good
in Luffy, Gomu Gomu no the rubber fucking punch. Like, there's
he's got gear second, he's got gear third, he's got gear fourth, he's got Snake Man now.
yeah, like there are these things within a lot of these other shows that make them memorable and stand out, while also achieving the elements of what a good shonen would be. But it feels like it's with SAO, it's all flair within the premise of the story, but no substance to it. So it doesn't really pull you into where you're just remembering all these iconic moments from the show.
But the world doesn't allow for it. There's no magic in this world. It's a sword fighting world. It's literally called Sword Art Online.
No,
I would say that I don't think they all have to have special abilities, because one of my favorite anime, they don't have special
I'm more so
abilities.
referencing things that are memorable about the show, right? I mean, the only thing you can really
When he solos a freaking boss by himself. Do you remember that part? That was epic.
I guess
There's even a tournament arc, dude.
I only remember when he kissed
I actually
the
forgot
girl,
about that.
and they have a fake child.
Quality shonen. Let's pretend to adopt this kid. We're pretend wife and husband.
She makes him sandwiches. That's the memorable thing.
Supporting gender roles.
Listen, I remember. I remember all of Sword Art Online. Okay, I remember the frogs not being.
Oh, I know
eaten.
you do.
I remember the big boss.
What's his sword style called?
Ankride, dude.
Wow. Okay, I'll give you that.
Oh, you didn't remember that. All right, well, I don't think we need to talk about Sword Art Online forever.
Yeah. And Akari in the chat says, "Oh yes, he dual wields out of fucking nowhere."
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't.
What's hilarious? What's hilarious?
Specifically,
it's his genetically. It's because he's genetically superior in his twitch muscles. He's a little bit faster at reflexing. So that's why the game gives him the ability to dual wield.
No, he's just so good at the game that he understands how to be faster, and that's why he gets it.
Okay, yeah, totally, great. So it's a meh.
Dude, that's just.
Why are you defending SAO?
What do you mean? Why am I defending it? I love SAO Ikari.
I love Subside. I mean, actually, Subside described it perfectly. He went, "Wait a fucking minute! I have two hands. One hand holds a sword. The other hand can hold another sword."
Subside, you're quoting the wrong thing here. We're talking about Sword Art Online, not My Hero Academia, where he remembers that he has legs.
My fucking feet.
Yes, I have legs. It's supposed to be this big moment, like I can use my legs.
But you see where my issues are coming out of, and you mentioned another meh, which is My Hero Academia. But again, I would also argue it's probably not really so much of a shonen, but over character drama. But regardless, that's
shit character drama. Then
no, it's a character drama in the context of it being like a superhero-esque universe. So okay, no, I don't want to get into this. We already went over this. Okay.
Yes.
But as a shonen, right? I think SAO is meh. Okay, Kuro, go.
But as a sci-fi, it's the best.
So next
sci-fi.
on my list is meh, is Dr. Stone. But it's growing on me, but I'm probably still gonna leave it at meh. I'm not gonna lie to you. But here's what I'm gonna praise it for. It has a super unique premise, and I really appreciated that it tried to do something unique. But I just really hate the characters, and I think it's annoying.
I love every second of Dr. Stone.
Yeah, Dr. Stone's great. Yeah, it's very. I would not put it meh.
I think it's one of those ones where I put it meh because I wouldn't call it good, but I would continue to watch it. So it's the same with all shonen almost on this list. Is like, I'm not saying that like you shouldn't watch them basically, but there's just certain levels. It's like, okay, watch this because you can turn your brain off and have fun with it, not because you think it's actually going to be really good. Basically.
Yeah, I mean, no, I like Dr. Stone because it doesn't try to be something that it's not. It's just mindless fun.
Yeah,
like nothing. Like it's fucking hilarious that we have all this scientific stuff, like the kingdom of science. Everything's intricate and you need to use logic in your brain. And then you have this dude that can fucking suplex a lion. It's fucking great. It's fucking great.
Good.
It's so good. It's so good. I'm so glad.
Love
man. Okay. Cool. Prove 2 people wrong.
Yeah.
Etyo, your turn.
About Dr. Stone.
No, pick a what's a meh shonen?
Pick a mesh shonen.
Please. I don't believe Shounen can be meh, but that's why I disagree with all of you. But that's fine. I'll just pick this one. Let's go for. Oh wait, no, this one can be meh. Soul Eater.
Oh, that was the one I put out of meh.
Rest in peace.
I moved it out of meh because I like Soul Eater.
I'm taking you on. You know what? I let you go the last time at you on this bullshit. Okay, I'm taking you on.
I like Soul Eater.
Soul Eater is not meh. It has some of the most charming characters in all of shonen.
Those character designs are very cool and unique, and I think the show is fun. I read the manga, so I can pretend like the anime ending didn't happen. I still think it's really good.
Sorry,
so.
every time Kuro says I read the manga, it's like when Goku sees the moon when he had his tail, it just turns into like a monster. I'm just like triggered, you know what I mean?
Either way, so combining both the anime and pretending the anime ending didn't happen, and that's the manga. Yeah, I think it's really good. It has a nice, well-rounded story, very charismatic cast. Cool powers. I mean, they all turn into fucking weapons. That's pretty cool. Great female cast.
Fucking courage punch. Okay.
That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen in the manga.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's just, I don't know. I thought it was really cool. It's a unique take. It's fun.
So, why is it meh? Come at me. Please.
It's meh because I don't remember any superpowers. Can you name one?
So, your reason for calling it meh is my reason for calling SAO meh. The double standard is here. You hear it here, folks. Motherfuckers, you have seen it now. Okay, you have seen it now. We are done. We're done. Okay.
No, we don't support hypocrisy on this podcast.
Yeah,
okay?
we don't. Yeah, we motherfucking don't. Oh man.
Okay. No, that's not the only reason why. The villains. I don't remember any of them.
You mean Vacation?
Who's he? I don't know who he is. Who is he? Is he the mummy guy?
Yes.
Oh yes, that guy. Yeah, he's all right. Wait, which mummy guy? The last one or the first one?
The first one's like the same. Oh wait, no, you're thinking of what's his face, Sid. He's not a villain.
Oh right, he looks like
he's the main. He's the main villain, the guy that from the sack.
Man, it's
and then
wait.
Mako Courage punches him in the anime.
To me, he does. Yeah, that's right. I remember she does. But I don't remember anything from it. It's not memorable at all. I didn't enjoy it because it
you don't remember like Death the Kid with his 2 dual wielding weapons?
Yeah, I remember. I remember the characters.
And
I don't
Black Star
what they
with his.
Dude, nothing happens. I don't remember anything happening.
I remember everything. You know how many times I've rewatched when Maka and Soul do like the ultimate like scythe thing when they were in that
spoilers
like, time. Oh, well, you know, whatever.
No. You get it. The anime is like 40 years old.
Right, like it's too old now. And they're in that like time lapse thing in that like tunnel. It is so fucking cool.
Yeah.
I got so hyped.
Never forget.
It's all right.
Whatever. Anyways, next is mediocre enjoyable anime.
Okay.
Which I would usually say.
Hey, wait, we didn't finish all the mez.
What are we going?
Unless you don't think. Oh, you don't think the rest of these are meh.
No. Well, I mean, I don't really have much to say about the other ones because they're kind of just givens. I mean, well,
some of the other ones on this list for everyone for meh is Fairy Tail, Bleach. I don't know. I think those are the main 2.
Fairy Tail, Bleach, 7 Deadly Sins, or Seraph, and My Hero Academia. Yeah. I mean, I would put Academia in the mediocre more so than the meh.
Same.
I just personally have it in meh. I wouldn't. Season 2, I would put in enjoyable because season 2 is my shit.
Yeah, season 2 is good.
Let's see. So mediocre, enjoyable.
Blue Exorcist. I'm just gonna read these off. Blue Exorcist, Black Clover, Promised Neverland, Food Wars, and Kimetsu no Yaiba. I think out of that list, Kimetsu no Yaiba does not belong here. It's a great shonen. Okay.
No, it's.
Oh, you have it
enjoyable
a great. Yeah, I have it
it's
enjoyable.
I think
It's
Kimetsu.
enjoyable at best.
No worries, Ikari. Benji forgot to include that I put in parentheses for Black Clover, Blue Exorcist, and The Promised Neverland, the mangas.
Yeah, he's going monkey guy now in a moment.
I mean, I still
Just
think
because you haven't read the mangas, it's. I'm clarifying.
can't read the mangas. You fucking manga. This is all my manga. This isn't the manga social club. This is the anime social club. Okay.
But Blue Exorcist anime, only the first 12 episodes are canon, and it's 106 chapters right now.
I still liked it. It was more enjoyable than fucking Bleach.
It's very good, but I'm just saying that it's.
Wait a second. 16.
16.
Not 12.
Sorry, wrong number. Basically, either way.
Fake news. You've been invalidated. Look,
I'm watching Blue Exorcist right now. It's really good. I think
love
it's
Blue Exorcist.
actually. Yeah, I think it's good. Not.
I would move it up to good. I would move it up because the manga.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Even the anime is pretty good. Like it's really good.
Yeah, it's
love
hard.
it.
Yeah, it's hard because I haven't read it in a while.
I mean, the
So
only thing I would really move out of
realize.
this list, is Kimetsu no Yaiba, and I would move D Gray Man down. D Gray Man belongs in the mediocre enjoyable.
I said manga. You have not read the manga.
I tried to read the manga, but they just decided to release it once a month, and it was still fucking boring because he just ended up in his final form for like 30 fucking chapters, and nothing happens. All he does is run.
Nope, you're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong.
Listen.
You're so wrong.
Let me just explain something here. Yaiba, dude, is mediocre. Enjoyable at most.
Is not great.
Look at the only thing is that if you don't like Zenitsu, that's pretty much all it is. You just don't
not
like him so much that you lower it from what it's supposed to be.
No, it's not just Zenitsu. I mean, I don't hate the cast. It's just like Zenitsu's not even really I don't mind Zenitsu, but I don't really like Zenitsu. I do like Inosuke more now, but I'm still not a huge fan of his.
So, and you're telling me in D Gray Man, you like all the characters?
I do. I love Lena Lee. I love Lavi. I love Alan. I love Kanda. I love red hair guys.
Yeah, they're all great characters.
They're great characters.
Fuck out of here.
Alan's one of my favorite characters ever.
I'm not doubting Alan. I'm talking about the entire cast.
Lavi's great. Lena Lee's great. Kanda's great. What is
Lena will ever the fucking the annoyingest shit. Okay, I don't give a fuck.
I also love Crory, and what's the other girl? What was her name?
Lena Lee discovered she has legs too. Okay.
Clock girl. She did discover she has legs too.
Her ability is high fashion. Okay, that's what it is.
She has so much power in her legs. She basically does Muay Thai. She basically does Muay Thai.
Yeah, some of the most uninspired fucking like just boring Muay Thai ever.
Please.
Fuck out of here.
See,
Okay. D Gray Man is enjoyable at best.
No, it's not. It's great. It's great. First of all, those character designs are great. The characters are great.
I would not
the
put.
The world is cool.
Okay, so what you're telling me is that the rest of the shows on your great shonen list deserve to be mentioned in the same breath as D Gray Man.
Yes, D Gray Man is one of my favorite shonen.
You are fucking high because
I'm talking about the manga. I'm talking about the manga because the anime has 30 episodes of filler. But the manga does not have 30 episodes of filler back to back, and the manga tells the story really great, and also the manga is past the anime. So
okay, we are going on a hiatus for the next 6 months as I read the entirety of every manga ever, so that I can invalidate Kuro's points from a actual experience, because I thought I made an anime podcast, not a manga podcast. So,
but I'm just saying that. So when you're talking about Shounen, you're talking about its source material story, and so when I've read the manga, it's hard for me to separate the two. I'm not going to say that D Gray Man's bad when I've read the manga and it's good. The anime is just not that good in comparison. But I'm not going to shit on D Gray Man because its source material is good.
The rest of these shows, no, I can't say that because I've never read them, but I was going to say both their materials hold up.
Yes.
Would you say that? The rest of these shows, the manga and the anime hold up?
Unless I clarified manga on this list, then yes, both of them hold up.
But D-Grim, I don't know. So
then in that sense, then Benji would be correct, because if both your sources aren't good, then it's not as good as the rest, because the rest of the shows on here,
the manga
isn't better than the anime, and the rest of the
fair to dismiss like a shonen story. Its source material is the manga. You wouldn't have the anime without the manga. It just wouldn't exist. So I find you need to be more respectful to the source material, and it's not fair to that story to say, "Oh, this is bad," because if you're like,
but we're not saying it's bad. We're not saying it's bad.
So we're talking about the shonen, right? So if we're gonna say that, okay, so we're telling people like, "Oh, these are the ones we think are good. These are the ones that we think are bad. Like, you should watch these ones." If you're gonna say, "Oh, D. Gray Man sucks," without clarifying that the manga is really good, that's not fair to D. Gray Man.
No, look.
Okay. Let's do it this way. Let's do it this way then. Let's say, okay, the anime D. Gray Man is not something that I would suggest to someone else, because the manga is obviously better. Go read the manga, but
that's typically how I clarify it. Yeah.
D. Gray Man is an enjoyable shonen as an anime at best.
Yeah, that's how I would say it. And so Black Clover, so I have Black Clover on the list. I would put the anime at meh. I do not like the anime. But but the manga I put at enjoyable, almost at great, but I'm going to keep it at enjoyable for now because it doesn't really do anything special, but it's just really good. But I just think it's like not fair to exclude the series source material, because that's what the anime is based on. It's not the series' fault that the anime wasn't adapted well, which is an issue with shonen, is that especially a lot of some of the older ones, because they ran weekly and they're long running, they didn't get the adaptations that they deserved. They get a shit ton of filler, and so then the filler ruins it. and that's
Here's
not
the thing.
fair to it.
You get one shot to make something incredible, right? Rarely do you ever get redos. Okay, Gray Man didn't do it. The anime just didn't hold up. So
so I'm saying
hold on. Let me clarify. But all these other shows did. They did their job. They got the anime done in a way where it was enjoyable to watch, but it was also enjoyable to read. The Gray Man failed on the watching front. So you have these.
That's not its source material. Like, for example,
No.
I wouldn't put a series on here that the manga is bad for, but the anime is good.
I get how strong the source material is, right? But, and then speaking from a personal perspective, right? Because I did read some of the D. Gray Man manga after the anime had abruptly finished. I just didn't like it. There was just nothing really enjoyable about it. I mean, shit, maybe I have to continue on from where I left off, but when it was
I don't know how far you got into it.
So. It was when he gets when he's completely possessed in his final form, and he's just running away from what's the cross corp
Wait, so he's possessed by the 14th Noah?
Yeah, he's in his final form, and he keeps running
pretty far into it.
Yeah, and I'm just like, okay, he's running and nothing's happening, and
well, that's because, so here's the one thing I will say with D. Gray Man, and it's an issue with shonen and with manga in general and other series, which is a downfall to it, is that it's not, so the author for D. Gray Man has come out with one chapter a year at most for like 10 years now, because the author got really sick and has a lot of problems. And so that is why especially this ending part has been inconsistent and is probably never actually going to end. But that doesn't mean that it's not an enjoyable show, and then I wouldn't recommend, or manga or show, because I still like the anime. And I wouldn't recommend it to people because I think the characters are really fun, and it was one of the first shonen I watched, and I really, really enjoyed it a lot. So I'm not going to dismiss it. But yeah, it's an issue. Well, it's an issue with it's not really, I don't know, it's just an issue with manga, and there are a lot of other shonen on this list where their manga isn't going to end, probably.
Well, I
just want to add that D. Gray Man, the anime specifically, I loved it.
Thank you.
I loved every second of it.
And I will clarify that the 2015 season, I really, really, really did genuinely love. It's just that first 103 episode season where there is like 30 episodes of filler and not the best production quality, that I would put it a little lower. But the 2015 one, that was great. Yes.
Okay,
Good.
we'll just agree to disagree. Other great shonen, which the rest of these will I won't contest honestly because I agree.
Hold up, I gotta go grab my charger. You guys keep talking.
Yeah.
Particularly JoJo's.
So just so you
Bizarre
know, I won that while she's gone. Anyways,
I'm not too sure about that one. It was pretty equal. I feel like I won that because I wasn't a
fuck
part
you,
of it.
you like Sao. Your opinion's invalidated immediately.
Got him, brothers.
Got him. Okay, some other shows on the great shonen list: Yu Yu Hakusho, Naruto, Dragon Ball Z, which I would put in God tier. Haikyuu, Mob Psycho 100, Magi, Noragami, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. A lot of the things that make it a great shonen, you know, like they're memorable, they're timeless, like they're rewatchable. Like there's like it doesn't have to have like a huge fandom, but you know there is a good audience for it, meaning that it appealed to a wide amount of its target demographic. Like it just hit a lot of those really good points that make shonen memorable, and they were all hype. You know, they were all hype, and they all had great moments, and the fights were good, and maybe some better than others. But you know, there's maybe the characters were stronger, maybe the main protagonist was a lot stronger, maybe the power system was cooler, but they all achieve one of those things in some way, shape, or form. The only thing I would move up is probably Dragon Ball Z into God tier.
Yeah, that was my personal. Just because, like I told Benji earlier, I obviously haven't watched all of Dragon Ball, and it's been a really long time. So, but I respect it, so I put it all the way to great, just because I know that especially original Dragon Ball is some good shit. I just need to actually watch it.
I want to add 3 more shows to this part. It's called Get Packers, Needless, and Trigun. I think they're all in the great shonen category.
I'd put Trigun in there. I mean, these are just suggestions.
Yeah, this was my list.
Off the cuff.
Yeah. I disagree completely with Noragami, by the way, but that's fine.
Oh, I know you don't like Noragami. I love Noragami.
I think Noragami. Listen, Noragami is hardly even shonen to me.
Convince me.
It's it's a shonen. I don't know. It's classified as shonen.
It's classified as shonen, but it's targeted at shoujo. It's targeted at women.
Okay, it's not targeted. It's written by a woman.
And it's also targeted to women. Like you can feel the womanness from it. You can feel it.
There's quite a few shonen manga that are written by women, and yes, a lot of women do enjoy it, but like it's not just women.
Yeah, of course not. Yeah, I'm not saying that, but I think the target audience is not men. It's definitely not especially not young boys.
But I also, so that's where I find it interesting is how people define shonen. So like, yes, it's young boy. I mean, yes, it is. The translation is young boy, but I've heard people say that it's supposed to be directed towards young boys, or that it just means that there's a young boy protagonist.
Oh, interesting.
So I had always interpreted it as young boy. Yes, there are certain series where the protagonist is not young boy. Gintama is an example of that. But typically in those ones, there's still a young boy main character, which Noragami does have that.
Does he? Does it?
Yukine has a whole arc about being immature and young.
It's the sword at you. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. I remember that arc.
Yeah. But I mean, Noragami, I don't like. I personally love Noragami to death, and I always will. But I don't try to argue it too much because I know it's not for everybody. And I know that a lot of girls do love it.
Maybe I would put Noragami in the enjoyable category. I don't think I like Noragami as much as these other shows.
I do because Benji's gonna fucking throw himself out of the window.
Don't
because read the manga. So there's more arcs, so I love it more after the last 2 arcs that have happened. They were really, really good. So
yeah.
It's not because the anime or manga is better. They're both on par, actually. I might say the anime is a little better because Bones does it and the art's really cool. But just because there's more arcs after the fact that are really good. So that's what made me move it up.
I feel it. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into the God tier shonen. These are best of the best. These are things you should watch 1,000% at some point in your life.
Hell yeah.
The only one that deserves to be there is One Piece. The rest can also.
We could do One Piece last. Hey, you haven't watched one of them.
I mean, like, obviously Dragon Ball Z needs to be up there, 100%.
Okay, we'll put Dragon Ball. So okay, so we have Dragon Ball / Dragon Ball Z. Nothing after
Okay, that can stay up there. That's fine. I'm okay.
And then the rest of this list for everyone else says Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, Hunter x Hunter, Gintama, One Piece.
Yeah.
Which I made that list.
And so Hunter x Hunter, Fullmetal Alchemist, not even.
So
shonen.
here's where I want to argue with you that it is shonen, because that is when I take the definition of young boy protagonist. But also I would specifically argue that for Hunter x Hunter because yes, Hunter x Hunter does get very mature at times and it does have a lot of underlying themes, but that doesn't mean that it's not consumable for young boys and that young boys don't enjoy it. Because I think a lot of its characters and the central themes of the series do appeal to young boys. And I mean, it has a whole fucking arc where they're into like a video game setting. And the two main characters are 12-year-old boys that have like a really wholesome friendship. Like I think it has all of those elements that are still appealing to young boys, despite it also having deep underlying themes. Fullmetal Alchemist, I would let you argue being a seinen. Because it is a lot more mature, more visually. There's a lot of blood, and I don't know. But I don't know. I
and psychologically
yes.
as well, I would say Fullmetal Alchemist is super intense. It's like,
but, I do still consider it shonen, just because again, young boy protagonists. Also, again, that overlying theme, family, adventure, friendship. Like I don't know, it still has all of that. I think it's just one of those things that is enjoyed by all ages. Because like I watched Fullmetal Alchemist when I was like 12. I mean, I'm not a boy, but still. Like it's my little cousin who is a boy who got into anime. That was one of his first ones, and he was like 10. So
I would not show that to my kids.
I mean, I wouldn't either, but like most of them find it and watch it and they like it. So
yeah, they like it, but I don't think that's.
At the age of 5, my kids are gonna start with Death Note. Okay, they're gonna learn. They're gonna learn the price.
No. You gotta do Minnesota, dude. This one.
Now, Gintama is interesting. I'm the only one here that's seen Gintama, right?
Sure.
Have any of you seen any of it?
I saw one episode and I saw the first episode, and then I dropped it.
Yeah. Well, first of all, Gintama's comedy certainly appeals to young boys.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah, it does.
It does. But it doesn't have a young boy protagonist, which is interesting. Gentoki's like 27. But
well, he acts like he's 12, so it's fine.
Yes, but he has moments. And in the comedy sections, he acts like he's 12, which is what makes it funny and makes the serious parts really good, because it's like, oh shit, he actually had like a whole story and he is an adult and he has shit. But yeah, we'll just skip over that because y'all haven't seen it. But One Piece.
Oof, so good.
I think One Piece is the defining thing of shonen. So I just want to sneak peek, because Benji had a thing for ideal shonen, and I literally wrote One Piece exists already.
Okay, so we're not really gonna contest the god tier section. We'll just move on to this next part because she really wants to talk about it. What's your ideal shonen? Yes. Well, okay, let me start because Kuro's not gonna stop talking for like 5 minutes. So me and Netyo will go first.
Do your Dragon Ball.
Ideal shonen. I mean, it would have to be like something of a mixture of like Dragon Ball Z, in terms of like just being able to emulate moments that are really like defining. Like you remember when he first went Super Saiyan. Like that's like that's like the shit. You know what I mean? Like you remember when he did the when Gohan did the family Kamehameha wave after hitting Super Saiyan 2 with Goku against Cell. Right? You remember that shit. You remember all the spirit bomb moments that Goku does. You remember when Goku goes Super Saiyan 3, you know, like there's like a lot of these memorable hype moments that like did so much to define this series as a whole. You know what I mean? And having like in terms of like my expectations for it being ideal, like it doesn't even need to have a super intricate power system. It just I just like things that make sense in context of their world, and that they just don't break the rules for no reason.
It's a cool power system.
Yeah, so yeah, a cool power system, just one that's consistent. Like just don't like go off the rails for like no reason. Like I hate it when they pull things out just for apps. Like you could pull something out of nowhere, but just like have a reason why that happens, you know? Like for example, when Asta acquires this other power, like there's a reason for it, even though it seems to come out of nowhere, but
like hinted at in the beginning of the show. It's like subtly dropped throughout the entirety of the series, and then when it's revealed, even though it came out of nowhere, there's a reason why it came out of nowhere, right? And then lastly, I would want to see like a legendary classic shonen that has a female protagonist, which I think it's definitely possible in this day and age. And
very rare.
Yeah, very rare, but I think it's possible, which I think would be really fucking cool if we got. So
should be a tomboy though.
Yeah,
in my mind.
Yeah, definitely a tomboy.
Okay, my internet just shit itself. What was this rare thing?
Having a female protagonist that's
what I thought.
Appealing to the shonen demographic, or even someone that's like. I
mean, I would consider some series to have like a quote unquote co-lead female protagonist.
Yeah, and general franchise.
I think Black Clover kind of does.
Yeah,
well, like Sakura, she's like the best character.
Yeah, well, general franchise in the chat says Promise Neverland does have the female lead. Yeah, but she's very much supported by the other two. Like I would want like solo adventure, like one person, like taking on challenges like by themselves and like progressing and
I do like the Promise Neverland did that though.
Yeah, even to the point where it's like, I mean, you can really branch out into like however you want to portray it, but it would just be really cool to see something like that.
The problem will always be that its aim is towards young boys. Shonen is always towards young boys. What its aim is.
Yeah, but I mean that could be the aim. I mean, you can intend for it to be for a certain audience, but I feel like if you just hit all the marks of it being what it's supposed to be, I think you can still be successful in that area, but it's just I would say it's difficult to write something with a female lead in general without having it be fan servicey or needing it to devolve into being like lewd at some point, right? But
that's what I would worry about.
But I mean it is possible
for young boys,
but we'll see, you know what I mean? I definitely think it can, but I think that'd be really 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 freaking cool. So what about you?
My ideal shonen is, have you guys seen Needless? Do you guys know of that show?
No, I don't.
Okay, it's a great show. Listen, I'm gonna run it down really simply. There's this world. There are superpowers. Every superpower is unique and only one person has that superpower. You make a main character that can copy other people's superpowers after they seize them. And therefore, it progressively increases his strength while also defeating generals. There's a big boss, and then there's generals, and then there's the lower soldier types, and then the assassin. Your typical shonen, and then you've got to defeat the final boss. Whatever form that is the ideal shonen. That's any shonen that is structured that way is my favorite stuff to watch. Another one that I can think of is Air Gear, Get Packers. They're all like that. Sword Art Online. They're all like that.
Okay.
Yeah. My ideal.
Do I get to go now?
No, yeah, no. I have nothing. We've already chatted at you. Okay, we've had our discussion. Okay, Kuro.
Well, we didn't technically talk about that part of Sword Art.
I mean,
and we didn't talk about that specific thing in other anime either, because that's also found in Bleach, right? The general, like you move up into strengths and you increase in power as you get there.
Yeah.
Needless, I think, is the best example because in regards to structure, because his powers progressively become stronger because he meets stronger opponents, and therefore he sees stronger abilities.
Like Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, but with Dragon Ball Z, the problem is that they kind of train for stuff that come out of nowhere.
I guess, yeah.
So I'm going to talk about One Piece.
Go for it.
This is the most in depth I'll ever go with One Piece on a podcast, and then I will. Okay, I'm not gonna say I won't. I'll stop because that just can't happen. But this is the most you'll ever get to hear me talk about it, so I'm gonna do it. One Piece is my ideal shonen, and I couldn't come up with like a list of what my ideal shonen is because it's literally One Piece. So I'm just gonna run down my checklist and say why One Piece does it, because it does everything that I want in a shonen. Good charismatic protagonist, Luffy, my favorite shonen protagonist. I think he's a great protagonist. The cool thing about Luffy is that the story is legitimately like written around him. Like he does not really progress as a character. He does a bit, but the world progresses because of him. So I think that's a really cool thing. Great supporting cast. Obviously, One Piece has a huge ass cast, 9 main characters. All of them are great. Support female characters. As I said, that's an important thing to me. One Piece does them all great. Yes, they all have big tits, but I don't care about that because I like big tits. They all have great backstories. They are actually like, I don't know, they have really unique personalities. They actually get to do stuff in the show, and they're just really well written. Well-rounded story. Again, One Piece. Luffy's gonna become Pirate King. Everything is so like perfectly written. With the world building is like the best world building you'll ever see in a series because it's 900 episodes. And I'll get into that in another section. But it's just structured really well. There has not been a plot hole yet that I can think of, unless you're like really, really, really nitpicking. Interesting, cool power system. Again, devil fruits and hockey, both really cool. They have lots of like properties and rules. The show never breaks them. And the cool thing that I was talking about the other day about One Piece is that it's also not really a battle of who's stronger, but rather just whose powers happen to line up with each other. And sometimes it's just luck because certain devil fruit powers just don't pair well together. Or one just happens to counteract the other one. So I think that's really cool because it makes for interesting fights. Good villains. One Piece has some of my favorite villains. Doflamingo is a really great example. Just going to go through that. Unique and interesting setting. One Piece has some of the coolest settings because it goes from island to island, and each island has different weather patterns, its own like politics. They're all like really weird and cool. And most importantly, my thing was fun. And yes, One Piece makes you cry, but it's also just a super fun and enjoyable show. So that's the most you'll get to hear out of me for One Piece. I'll stop.
That's great. You'll stop for now.
Oh, okay. Okay, I came back into reality. All right. So thank you for.
Wow.
No, I'm kidding. I don't know. It's cool. But
it does everything. I mean, you don't have to like. I'm just saying it covers all the checklists. You know, obviously, like certain people, it just doesn't appeal to certain people. But it covers everything that I look for in a shonen.
I can see that. But Dragon Ball Z does reign supreme overall. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up for the podcast itself. Thank you guys again for another beautiful week of everyone showing up, you know, no roadblocks, you know, like Classic WoW, like that. But all jokes aside, thank you guys for tuning in and watching. Again, check out the live streams Thursdays at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Check us up on YouTube, Anime Social Club, and on every podcast available platform, Anime Social Club. You can search us, find us, join our Discord, links below, all that good stuff. But apart from all that goodness, anything else you guys want to say?
Nope. Watch One Piece.
What about you?
Watch Gatepackers, Needless, and Air Gear. They're all great shows.
No one's ever heard of. Anyways,
please, there was a couple of people who've heard. General Franchise knows what Needless.
General Franchise has seen like everything.
2000.
But yeah, so thank you guys for tuning in. We love y'all. Can't wait to see you guys again next week. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.